Hi, this is Ajay Anand and welcome to social science classes from excelup.com. In this video, you will be learning about agriculture in India. I will be talking about types of farming, cropping patterns in India, major crops in India, then reforms which are required in agricultural sector in India, importance of agriculture for the Indian economy, food security, and then I will talk about the impact of globalization on agriculture in India. Let us start with the types of farming. There are three types of farming, and they are called primitive subsistence farming, intensive subsistence farming, and commercial farming. The primitive subsistence farming involves use of small patch of land. It is usually done by the tribal people. They use primitive tools like hoe, sickle, spade, trowels, etc. They just clear a patch of land by slashing and burning the vegetation on that. So this type of farming is also called slash and burn farming. So after clearing the land, farming is done on that particular patch of land for a couple of seasons, and after that the people, they move on in search of a new patch of land, so that the previous one, it can get proper time to regain its lost fertility. In many parts of India, this practice is also known as jhum cultivation. For example, in the hilly areas of Meghalaya, Manipur, then in some parts of Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand also. In case of intensive subsistence farming, the key characteristic is high population pressure on the farmland. This is labor intensive also. The farmers, they use biochemical inputs like pesticides, manures, and fertilizers. They also use irrigation. The major problem of this type of farming is that the land holding size, it becomes smaller and smaller through subsequent generation because of the distribution of land during inheritance and succession. So what happens, a period comes when the farming on a small plot of land, it is not economically feasible. So that is the major problem of this type of farming. This type of farming is practiced mainly in densely populated areas of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, etc. In case of commercial farming, modern inputs are used like HYV seeds, that is high yielding variety of seeds, chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides. Plantation is also an example of commercial farming. Haryana and Punjab, they are leading states in commercial farming. They use advanced tools like combine harvester or threshers. Okay, so farm productivity, it is on a higher side in these states. Let us talk about cropping patterns in India. There are three cropping patterns or cropping seasons in India. They are known as Rabi, Kharif, and Zaid. So Rabi is also called the winter crop, Kharif is called the monsoon crop, and Zaid is called the summer crop. The Rabi season starts between October and December, and the harvesting is done in April and June. Kharif season starts in June and harvesting is done around September, October. And in between the Rabi and Kharif comes the Zaid season. The key crops of the Rabi season are wheat, barley, pea, gram, mustard. And the major states which are producers of Rabi crops are Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu, Uttarakhand, and Uttar Pradesh. The western temperate climate cyclone helps in precipitation during winter in these parts of India, that is the north and northwestern part of India. And because of this required precipitation, the crop production is good during the Rabi season in these places. The key crops of Kharif season are paddy, maize, jowar, tur, that is arhar, moong, urad, cotton, jute and soybean. The leading states of Kharif crop are Assam, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and coastal regions of Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Maharashtra. The major crops of the Zaid season are watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, vegetables and fodder. This table it shows the major crops which are grown in India. Okay, so these are the crops. This is the season in which a particular crop is being grown. This column shows the required conditions for proper growth of these crops and the key states where these crops are produced. So rice, it is grown in the monsoon season. It requires high temperature and plenty of rainfall. The key states are plains of northeastern India, that is the plains of Ganga and Brahmaputra. So it includes Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Assam. Then coastal areas of deltaic region, so that is the coastal areas of Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. In case of wheat, it is a winter crop. It requires low temperature but bright sunshine and evenly distributed moderate rainfall. That means it requires moderate rainfall which should be evenly distributed throughout the cropping season. Key states are Punjab, Haryana, UP, Bihar, Rajasthan and parts of Madhya Pradesh. Maize is a Kharif crop, so the conditions are required same as that in case of rice, and the key states are Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. There are many pulses grown in India. Some of them they are grown in summer season like arhar and moong, and some of them they are grown in winter season like gram and pea. The pulses they require less moisture and they can even survive the dry conditions. Pulses are usually grown in between two cereal crops so that the soil fertility can be replenished. You must have read in your biology classes that the root legumes of the pulses they contain rhizobium bacteria. Okay, and those bacteria they help in nitrogen fixation in soil. So that is how the pulses they help in replenishing the soil fertility in most of the cases. The key states which are producing pulses are Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra and Karnataka. Apart from these crops, these are the food grains, cereals and pulses. Other important crops are sugarcane, oil seeds, tea and coffee, rubber, jute and cotton. So agriculture, it needs reform. Certain reforms they had been done in the past and more reforms are being needed. So reforms they can be put into two categories. One is called the technological reforms and another is called institutional reforms. So examples of technological reforms are HYV seeds, that is high yielding variety of seeds, and modern farm equipments. Green revolution and white revolution, they are very good examples of success of reforms in agriculture. Green revolution was initiated somewhere between 1950s and 1960s, and white revolution was initiated about a decade later. So although these revolutions they helped in increasing farm production and milk production, but they had been success stories in some selected states only. So this means that more reforms are required. So institutional reforms are land reforms. So land reforms pertains to the land holding size. I have discussed in the previous section that the inheritance through subsequent generation, it results in land size getting smaller and smaller, and time comes when it becomes economically unfeasible to do farming on a small patch of land. So under the land reform, the government tries to increase the land holding size, so that there should be a big farm instead of many smaller patches of land. The land reforms, they had been successful in some states like Punjab and Uttar Pradesh, but in most of the states, there was not proper implementation because of maybe local political pressure and cultural factors. So, a lot of work needs to be done in this area. Bhudan, it was a movement initiated by Vinoba Bhave, because he was of the opinion that landless farmers, they need to given lands. So many rich farmers who had surplus lands, they were inspired by the call of Vinoba Bhave, and they willingly donated their land. So that is how the name came, Bhudan. That is, the Bhu means land and Dan means donation. The government has recently introduced many schemes like Kisan Credit Card to ensure that credit is available at proper interest rates to farmers on time, and they need not get into the trap of local money lenders. Then the government also gives personal accident insurance scheme to the farmers, and more branches of Grameen banks are being opened in rural areas to ensure availability of credit at government specified rates. Okay. Now let us talk about the importance of agriculture for the Indian economy. As per the 2010 and 11 data, 52% of workforce was employed in agriculture. So this means the workforce, it must be sustaining a bigger number of population. So more than 50% of the population, it depends on agriculture for its sustenance. So this shows the big importance of agriculture in India. This table shows the growth of GDP and growth of major sectors. So this column, it is for 2002 to 2007, then 2007 to 12, and these two columns, they give the targets for 2012 to 2017. So this is target 1 and this is target 2. So the GDP growth rate was 7.2% between 2002 and 2007. During this period, the agriculture grew at 1.7%, industries grew at 8.3%, and the growth of services was 9%. During this period, that is 2007 to 12, the growth of GDP was 8.2%. Agriculture showed some improvement because it grew at 3.2% rate. Then the growth of industry was 7.4% and that of services was 10%. The target for the next 5 years was 4% for agriculture, for industries it was around 9.5 to 10%, for services 10%, and for GDP 9.5%. These data have been taken from the NCERT textbook. Food security. So what is food security? If a person, he gets the minimum required nutrients in his daily ration, then we say that food security is being ensured for that person. So for the poor people, the government needs to ensure food security for as many people as possible. To ensure this, the government maintains buffer stock through FCI. The FCI stands for Food Corporation of India. So Food Corporation of India is a procurement agency which buys food grains from farmers at MSP, that is minimum support price. Then comes the role of the PDS, that is Public Distribution System. Its role is to distribute the food grains at subsidized rate to needy people. For this, people need to have ration cards. There are two types of ration card. The one is for APL families, that is above the poverty line, and another is for the BPL families, that is below the poverty line, and accordingly the rates are decided. But the problem of MSP and subsidy is that because the farmers they used to get subsidy on fertilizers, so they purchased more subsidizer, there was excessive use of fertilizers, and because of the lure of MSP on selected food grains like rice and wheat, it resulted in distorted cropping pattern because farmers preferred to grow rice and wheat in order to get better price under the MSP, and other crops they were being ignored. So it resulted in reduced output of other crops. So what is the way out? The way out is to improve agricultural infrastructure in the way of making more maybe mandis and cold storage and facilitating availability of HYB seeds at the remotest villages in the country, then ensuring the availability of credit, availability of latest techniques to the farmers, so that we can increase the intercrop parity. So instead of more focus on grains, crops under MSP, the farmers should be encouraged to grow other crops also. Then there is a need to gradually shift towards horticulture, because vegetables and fruits, they are cash crops. They will give more income to farmers compared to whatever food grains are giving. Okay. Now let us talk about what is the impact of globalization on agriculture in India. Globalization is not a new phenomenon. It had been there during the days of the Mughals, it was there during the colonial rule, and it is present in the modern times also in a different form. So what happens in developed countries, the government gives very high subsidy to its farmers, and because of this, the Indian farm products, they are costlier than the farm products of developed nations. So Indian farm products, they are unable to compete in the developed nations. So government has to think about it. If there will be a need, it needs to increase the subsidy to farmers also. Then another option is that green revolution, it proved successful in some states, but now it has run out its course. So there is a need to shift from green revolution to gene revolution. So gene revolution is bringing some desirable changes in crops through genetic manipulation. So for example, BT cotton, that is genetically modified cotton. The BT cotton shows better resistance against insect pests. So there will be better crop. Similarly, BT brinjals, they have been given permission to be grown in the country. So by doing so, we can ensure better farm productivity in coming years. Then we can also shift to organic farming, because organic farming is more environment friendly compared to the conventional methods of farming, and we need to diversify cropping pattern also in order to increase the income of farmers. So instead of just focusing on food grains and vegetables and fruits, maybe farmers can be encouraged to grow medicinal plants, or they can also be encouraged to grow certain plants which can be utilized to produce biodiesel, like Jatropha plants. Okay, so that is how we need to think about the ways and means to tackle the impact of globalization. So to sum up, I talked about types of farming, about the cropping seasons in India, about major crops in India. Then I talked about the reforms which had taken place and the required reforms in agriculture in India. I talked about the importance of agriculture for the Indian economy, and I talked about the impact of globalization on the Indian agriculture. That's all for this lesson. Thank you.